Let's rock and roll, boys.
Hello and welcome to another Nintendo podcast. I'm your host today, Matt Schultz, and I'm joined by Austin Cummings.
Hello, Matt.
And down to my right, left, whatever, Danny Tortelli.
Hello, beautiful fans.
Oh, thank you. Yes, there's multiple.
Right, that's right. It's very personal when you give a compliment like that, given it's really one or two people.
Well, we have an exciting show because it is the era post Smash Ultimate. It's out now. We've all been playing it, and we have a lot to talk about. But before we do, we're going to jump right into a few stories in a segment we like to call Big Ann in the News.
And you know what I've noticed? Matt, recently doing some of the editing is we really give that microphone just a big old spike when we rev up for Big Ann in the News. People love it. Just like, you know what, they had to do that back on the farm or in the Wild West or whatever to kind of, corral on the animals, and we're kind of keeping that alive. Matt, speaking of corralling things, what news articles did you lasso up for us today? Wrangle.
Oh, I see what he did.
We need a little shot of was it Duck Hunt Dog and his whole his Smash scene? Yeah, that's what I want. So a couple of things. First and foremost, the classic consoles as we know them here in the Americas may be seeing the end of their shelf life. So recently in an article that Nintendo News posted, it was Reggie Fils-Aimé was talking to Hollywood Reporter, and they were asking about, hey, is there any new classic consoles showing up? And Reggie said this. We've said that the current systems are the extent of our classic program. We've also been clear that, at least from an America's perspective, these products are going to be available through the holiday season, and once they sell out, they're gone. And that's it, period. He goes on to say that, the Nintendo Switch Online is kind of the platform for NES games. He talks about dropping new NES games like Wario's Woods, etc. But anyways, so that's it. And then recently at a Target, I've seen a few stocked shelves for NES and SNES classic consoles. So what do you guys think of that? Do you have? I know I have one. I know you've got both of them, Austin. Take us away.
I mean, I don't mean to brag. Okay, here's my thing. They are certainly very well stocked now, and I totally appreciate that. And I feel the same way about modern day Amiibo, like such as the Octoling ones just came out. They look beautiful, as well as the Smash editions.
Right.
They all look great, and they're available. So it's totally new Nintendo on that front, and I really like to see that. When I got my NES Classic, I only got it because we had an Amazon bookstore here in the Portland area, one of like the 3 at the time, and they stocked it. And then it was like a snow day for work, but it was like everything was ice, and so nobody was on the roads. And then I braved these Arctic conditions to go out and get one of these NES Classics. It was so exciting. This is when it came out, I guess 2 years ago now. But as far as them ending, I would find it to be a little freeing. I love collecting them. I think they're really well made. I want to talk about the PlayStation Classic here in a second, but the overall, maybe it would be exciting to have an N64 Classic. I would totally get it. I'd be excited to play it. It'd be great to have a Game Boy Classic at the same time, but I also do feel like I kind of like maybe the idea. There's so many games that it feels a little freeing to be like, we have these 2. They were very available, so that was not the issue. It's not like you couldn't have gotten it and it went away. They're not pulling the rug out from under you. It's just they're not going to keep doing this, and maybe it's time for a little bit of a different approach, like using Nintendo Online. Danny, what are you thinking?
So my thought was I'm actually really impressed for how much they put into those as far as, okay, so the original batch came out, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. And remember they initially sold out like crazy, and they were like, nope, they're gone. And then for how quickly they sold, I really thought that was just going to be Nintendo being like, sorry, we told you it was a limited batch. So I was actually really proud of them for actually seeing that, this is profitable for us. We should make more.
Right.
So I do think this was, I think they've hit pretty much everybody that they're going to hit, or, the remaining stock will hit everybody that they're supposed to hit.
For sure.
At this point moving forward, I'm also wanting that N64 Classic I'm wanting that GameCube classic.
Right.
Yeah.
If only.
Right.
I do. Yeah, go ahead. Go. What? Okay, I'm just gonna jump in. I do feel like the GameCube classic. There was something about it, even though it would be awesome. Love the GameCube, right? But some part of me is like, at what point do you get close enough to the modern generation where you're like, these games should just be available on the Switch?
Well,
like, if Wind Waker were on a GameCube classic, I'd be like, where is Wind Waker HD on the Switch? Like, I feel like N64 is the last one where I kind of think you could kind of get away with it. But if there was like a DS classic, I'd be like, why are these games not on my touchscreen Switch? Like, I think it just gets really close to being a kind of inexcusable lack of backwards compatibility and access to these Nintendo games. Reggie saying the Nintendo Switch Online would be awesome, but right now it's just like a very paltry collection of NES only games we've all played many times. Super Mario Bros. 3, not exactly, a new experience for any of us, although love that raccoon suit. But I think it's just like it. I think proof will be in the pudding, because I don't actually see Nintendo being like, we got N64 games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online, though that would be awesome. And also considering the online service is not very good, which we'll talk about in a little bit with Smash, it would be nice if they tried to do other make goods by providing games of more substance.
Yeah, I'm totally the same way. Like I will easily forget my whole wish for an N64 classic and a Game Boy classic if they're actually getting ported in a timely and proper manner. I think the other part of my brain is just like, hey, if it means I get to play Star Fox Adventures again and like sort of via an HDMI port, give me the whatever version it takes to get that.
This
Name
man
your price.
His Star Fox. Nintendo, are you listening?
It's a great.
Get Crystal in HD. Gosh darn it!
Oh man, put her in Smash. All right,
Send him a pinup.
You go to buy the GameCube Classic in a Target, and you're like, oh, how much is this? I'll give you $100 for it. And they go, no, that's too low.
Yeah, right.
You pay this much. So I think it's pretty interesting right now because Nintendo, they're saying that they're kind of done with this, right? Like, yeah, we had our fun with the classic consoles. Meanwhile, Sony's like, what? Wait, no, we're here now. They've got their first console coming out, and I wonder how many iterations of the classic line that they're going to have. Meanwhile, Nintendo's like, no, we just did this for whatever. We thought this would be a fun concept. It sold really well. We're happy about that. But we were also kind of planning the Nintendo Online service at the same time, and then we're like, whoops. So I feel like now they're like, not necessarily backtracking, but like, yeah, we're not going to go too far down the rabbit hole now that we've launched online. And Reggie has said, and is quoted in tons of different outlets as online is our focus now. This is where you're going to play these games. This is what our vision is. But he hasn't cracked or leaked any sort of like little tidbit around like SNES is coming, GameCube's coming. But you have to imagine that it is, right?
Yeah, I think, I guess we'll see. Let's kind of put a cap on the story by saying this. Let's each go around and say whether or not we're fine with this news or furious at it. So I'll go first. I'm fine with it. Danny?
Danny is fine with it.
Too fine, too furious. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
3 fine, 3 furious.
So let's move on to our next story here. So Smash Ultimate input lag? ? So Polygon recently did a great article, go check it out, on this potential lag issue with the new Super Smash Bros. And they heavily cite a YouTube channel called Gigaboots. That's all one word, Gigaboots. And they basically do a ton of research on the latency, the controller latency in a ton of games, mostly fighting games, but racing games and some other things. So anyways, so they did a recent study on the Smash Brothers series, more specifically Smash Ultimate. They put a ton of work into basically checking every single controller input, as well as every particular characters. And what they found was that there's between 87.87 and 112.87 milliseconds of input lag, which they equate to being between 6 and 7 frames of animation pass between hitting a button and then seeing a character like move or jump or dodge or whatever. And so anyways, I thought it was an interesting story. They then go on to cite that this is the lowest number, that 87, is using GameCube controllers. So using a GameCube controller, you're going to see a lower latency than if you were using a wireless Pro controller or any of Nintendo's other options for the Switch. They also then go on to compare it with all of the Smash Brothers series, with N64 having the lowest, Melee had the lowest, shortly followed by N64. 3DS actually was pretty close by, but Switch ultimately being the greater latency number. So they asked if this was a big deal to some gamers. Some hardcore gamers all weighed in. Some said yes, this is an issue, and I'd like to see it patched, as with other games that have had this issue. And others have said no, because of the buffering that takes place naturally in the game between animations, that it doesn't really show up. So I don't know. What do y'all think of that? Have you experienced this before? I didn't even know this was an issue until I read this article.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to say. It's like I'm not a fighting game pro. I went to some Street Fighter V tournaments when I was in Eugene, Oregon, with my fight stick and everything, and I only ever made it to the second, one tier further in the bracket. So, i.e., only ever won one round. But I'm no pro when it comes to the frames or the lag. I would say I don't feel like I notice it, but I almost don't know what to look for. And the danger a little bit of the story like this, it's a good story, but for me personally, is that I read it, and then whenever I miss an input or something playing, I'm like, oh, well, it must be that historically bad lag. Because I will say this about Smash Bros. We're going to talk about it in a second. The hardest thing I find with this game, I'm really enjoying it, is when you're falling in general, but particularly when you're falling off a ledge, and you're facing the direction opposite to that of the ledge, I find it is hard to turn around and use your up B. And I've seen other people talk about this. I certainly experience it. If you haven't, next time you play, be thinking about it. But I find myself doing up B in the wrong direction in those kind of critical falling moments. And I'm sure it is just how this game was designed, and something about, your characters, you're faster. The characters feel like they have a little more weight to them, though. And I've kind of chalked it up to the momentum of the character. It's hard to just redirect it. But that said, then I'm like, oh, is this actually a technical issue? I just don't know. But the game is so finely put together. There's so much content, and it's also thoughtful, that I can't help but feel like they must have designed certainly for this. I don't think it's like a bug. This is how the game was designed. So I think they probably thought of it completely, as it seems like they did in other aspects of the game. But that's kind of my impression. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, Danny, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm not a pro player. I mean, me and my roommates certainly get pretty competitive, and there's certainly moments even before I heard this news, where I was like, I swear I hit the grab button before you did.
Right.
What the heck, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I
blame
know
it on the
this,
lag, rage quit, get out of there. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was watching your finger hit that grab button. I know my finger hit it first.
Right, exactly.
So now that I read this, it's like I found something to affirm my belief. See, I told you, I pressed it first. Blah blah blah. So I don't know if it's actually, am I just really, that half second off myself? I've always just not been that good of a player, or is there something going on behind the scenes? I don't think it's really that big of a deal for someone like me. But same thing, I'm gonna have this in my head every time something like that happens. Well, if they just fixed that darn latency, I would have won that match.
For sure.
Doesn't bother me at
agree.
all. I think we've already seen 2 patches for this game. There's the day 1, and then we've had the 1. Was it
1.2
now?
No, just
1.2. Okay.
Can't wait for 1.4 though. That's going to be a great one. I can't wait to be reminded to make sure all your recordings are saved.
It's going to be a great one.
Format.
Yeah, I know, right? Everything's going to be deleted. No, I think yeah. Better save half your characters will get snapped in this one.
Oh,
this is I think it's going to be fixed, or not fixed, at least maybe addressed over time. But I haven't experienced anything like this, and I'm not by any means a hardcore Smash player. I certainly play with hardcore people, and at a time I was pretty good at one Smash or another, but this one I'm definitely more playing competitively locally. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a major issue. I mean, Danny and I have played a ton, and I know there have been times when Danny's shocked that I've somehow pulled something off. And vice
you're just
versa.
a miracle worker. That's your trick.
I mean, Danny's pretty good. We can talk about that later. But anyway, so yeah, I think you're right though, in that it's gonna be in the back of our heads now, having read this article, that maybe that is a thing. But I exclusively use a GameCube controller, wired setup, if I'm not playing handheld. And if I'm playing handheld, I wouldn't know.
Just pray and I accept the loss. If I'm playing handheld, it's not pop.
All right, so Austin, Did you watch the Game Awards?
Oh, Matt, thank you so much for asking me. You bet I watched those Game Awards.
What was
with
your
Jeff
favorite
Keighley
announcement?
Well, I'll say this. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was announced at the Game Awards when it aired last week. And one of the big news items to come out of it was that this game was going to be a Switch exclusive. Mm-hmm. Now, I have very fond remembrances of playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance and also the X-Men Legends games that preceded it on like the PS2 and then Ultimate Alliance on 360, as well as the not as good second game. And those games really came out in a wild time for me, and I'm sure for many of us, because of course they were pre-MCU, and it was like my first exposure to a lot of those characters, like beloved characters now, like Ghost Rider, famously portrayed by Nicolas Cage, and not one but two Ghost Rider films that were pivotal to the MCU back lore. But really like Black Panther and Luke Cage and characters like that are underrepresented otherwise, had somewhat starring roles in the game, or at least on the same platform as everyone else. But the coolest thing about it, and the coolest thing revisiting that idea with this trailer, was just seeing like the X-Men there and the Avengers there in a way that we do not get to see them in the films, and having the context of it be against the Black Order, the villain cabal from the most recent film. So that was like really fun. They're all from the Jonathan Hickman, or really well collected, I suppose, in the Jonathan Hickman run comic books of Avengers and New Avengers. So I just like love seeing those characters, love seeing them together. And I think it's really neat that it's a Switch exclusive. Like it is, on one hand, petty, the exclusivity, especially when it's not a first-party Nintendo game, because it's like, is the game better because people on PlayStation can't play it? Certainly not. However, they have to design it with the Switch. Well, yeah, we got him with the Switch, power in mind. So it'll really be made to use Switch hardware. And I just have so many fun memories of playing this with the friends. Like there were so many glitches we encountered with the game. The games were like never particularly well crafted. They're just beat 'em up brawlers. Like they're totally mindless. It's just like, Luke Cage saying "Sweet Christmas" again and again and again. But at the same time, like it's pick up and play, and it's easy. It's with beloved characters. Totally excited about it. What were your guys' initial thoughts, Matt, to seeing it?
Actually, I mean, I remember I watched the announcement happen live, and I was still kind of, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not really sure what style of game this is or what type of game this is. It wasn't until Danny was talking to me about it. I was like, hey, did you see this? This looks really cool. It's kind of like like Diablo 3, but with like Marvel characters. And all kind of playing this world. So honestly, I think Danny was a little more excited about it than me. To me, it's just like cool, like Marvel stuff. I'm happy
you've always
it's on
been
the
a big
Switch.
DC. You've always been a big DC boy. You love that Suicide Squad, and it's right, big old BB boy.
Suicide Squad. Yeah,
I love that Killer Croc. Okay, Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I feel like one of my friends played this on the PS2, one of the earlier iterations, and they had it on for like a split second when I went over to their place. So it's been a long time since I've seen anything in this list of iterations, but I'm excited. I mean, the fact that they had the Russo brothers come out and announce it at the awards. In this past year, I've turned from a casual Marvel MCU fan to like a diehard, I would say. So I'm like, hey, and it's on the Switch. I've been looking for more things while Smash is eating up my time. I've been looking for more things to add to that library too. So this looks like one I might check out.
Totally excited about it. And I just wanted to share part of the story that was how it came to be. And so Reggie was talking to IGN, and this is their article, but he says, what happened to the world of development is that you have companies who have positive experiences in working together, coupled with franchises being available, and the franchise owner wanting to do something with a particular franchise. It's very complicated, but that's business. And in this case,
have to align.
And in this case, those three elements came together in order to create the opportunity for that game. Now, it's made by Team Ninja. They did make Other M, a game that I think gets a bad rap. It's not a great Metroid game, but it's not a terrible game. It has a terrible story. And Koei Tecmo now, they are responsible for the Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors games that are like this in the sense that it's like really mindless brawler. Like it feels similar to Diablo, but it's more mindless because there's no loot or anything. So it's like, in the same way, so too are the Warriors games, though I've enjoyed them. They're like, you just smash your way through. And so I think what would be an interesting story here is less so how, like, I'm sure Nintendo was just happy to have the exclusive. I'm sure they paid good money for it, but really, how did Marvel make the call to help make this, deal a reality? Like we have like these Marvel Sony Spider-Man game that's only on PlayStation. But I would love to know how that came to be, because it's not because of Sony's rights to the Spider-Man films. That's separate to that, and they've said that it didn't have anything to do with it. It was just like Insomniac, and they saw it was a property and a company that could do really dynamic characters and thought it'd be a good fit. I don't really know. It would be interesting to see why they thought this was appropriate for the Switch, but when you think about the core of the Switch and multiplayer experiences that aren't exactly super intensive, it does seem like a perfect fit, and I wonder if that decision came from Marvel itself. It's just kind of an exciting little story. I'm looking forward to playing it next year.
And it's about the Black Order. It's going to come out at a time where people are talking about
Endgame,
yeah, and on all things Marvel and Thanos.
I like it.
Yeah,
but
it's going to sell.
As far as other things, Matt, that happened in the Game Awards, what was another big story to come out of it?
So we were all waiting at the edge of our seats for a big Nintendo announcement, right? Regime, as I like to call him.
Regime, we call him here on the show. Friend of the other podcast.
Yeah,
he's up there with the host, and finally they start showing. They're talking about like Smashes dropping that day, literally like within hours of all that was happening. And then of course the screen cuts over to a lot of red. And eventually we find out that Joker from the Persona series is coming to Switch. Got that lovely little envelope. I don't know who's sending these invitations. Cool. I want to know which character.
Master Hand is transcribing each one and then seals it with a kiss from his thumb. I know.
He stamps it with his thumb, and there's like a little
with the imprint. If you look closely in the wax.
So I want to
from Persona 5.
So it's Persona 5, but specifically, Regime was asked about this, and when asked about it, he said about this particular character, he came out as saying this is emblematic, quote, of the approach that Mr. Sakurai and the team are taking with the DLC. This is what he told IGN after the fact. He wants characters that are unique, different, to bring them into the Smash Brothers environment. So it's going to be tremendously exciting, end quote, assuming to see the next 4 DLC characters get revealed. I do want to make this or say this other part. Quote, I hope that fans are excited by the announcement of Joker. I hope they're looking forward to the future announcements, he added. I hope it gives them confidence to just go buy the fighter pass.
I want to say this really fast. I find it really funny because on one hand you have Sakurai being like, and the DLC characters are out of my hands, like don't buy the fighter pass unless you want to, it's Nintendo's call. And then you have Nintendo like a couple weeks later being like, buy the fighter pass first of all, and also it's on Sakurai, so if it's bad it's on him. And I do love that. But what are you guys kind of thinking? Let's hear from Danny on this, like regarding the character. Do you have any connection with the Persona series? And what does that kind of make you think for future announcements?
So I know we may hit on some of the other potential future announcements in a moment. I don't know the Persona series, I think at all. When I first heard the news that Joker would be entering, I was like, oh, we're getting DC stuff.
Turn.
Like, this is great. Like I'm excited for this. But then I read more. It was like, no, Persona. I was like,
it's a hot Joker.
Right. Yeah, when Reggie made that comment about like, oh, this stands for what the remaining 4 are going to be like, I was like, does that mean obscure characters that I've never heard of? Granted, I am more of a casual video game player in general. I just have like my 4 or 5 games that I play repeatedly, just not,
sure,
beyond
that.
We
like your kind too.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
What are you thinking, Austin?
I was like super excited about. Now, here's my experience with Persona. I have Persona 4 eventually came to the PlayStation Vita and in the Persona 4 Golden, so the portable version of that game that was on PS2. And so I played it on there. It's a long game. I probably put 40 hours into it and kind of bounced off eventually. But it's fun because it's like a kind of a dating sim visual novel type game, in a way where it's like you're kind of manufacturing it. You have a schedule to maintain in school, and you can also court certain people, but it's all done around these kind of high school students. It's if you're into that kind of thing, which is easy to, I think 2B is presented very well. Then it's fun, and you also have this JRPG mechanic that takes place in kind of an alternate dimension. And anyway, I enjoyed it on the Vita, but eventually kind of bounced off of it. But Persona 5 got great reviews on the PlayStation 4. but it's had no announcement so far for the Switch. Now, the Persona 5 character will appear in the second Persona Q game, which will be on 3DS, and there's already been another one. It's by the Etrian Odyssey people, and so it does have a little bit of a property, a home on Nintendo consoles, and other characters in these games don't really either. It's not like, the obvious one, I guess, is Cloud, but Cloud's in Kingdom Hearts, which is in the DS games, and there's the Theater Rhythm games, but there's always kind of asterisks, and maybe this will be that too. But the fact that he's just getting announced, and our previous news that it would be based on other releases, makes me think Persona 5 will come to the Switch.
Oh yeah.
Waiting for that announcement in kind of a portable form. That would be awesome for that format, because those games are not open world. It's like you go to school, down to school, then choose a location, like downtown. And now I walk down the street downtown. Now I go home, and that's how you spent your day. You have to make decisions on how to use the day, if you want to study or eat or be social or craft relationships. It's a wonderful, is a totally unique style of game. It would be fun to have it in the portable form. And Persona 5 came out on the PlayStation 3, so it should definitely be doable on the Switch. And I liked the fact that it really feels like it's going to be rando with the rest of the characters. Piranha Plant's going to be totally good and fun, but I didn't want more like that, And I think it'd be lame to have just to get I don't know, one of the Koopa, some type of Koopa kid or an enemy or something like that would just be a bit of a disappointment. So I'm glad to have.
I think that's where we differ. And I was telling Danny this earlier. I wasn't upset. I was disappointed. I'm like, nobody knows this character, and the people that do, I'm glad they're excited. And I think it's if this is going to be emblematic of the future releases, I am not enticed. I think that as someone who just likes Nintendo and specific Nintendo things, maybe from a business perspective, hey, we're going to drop character in this super popular game, and hopefully that'll drive sales for a hopeful Persona 5 release on Switch.
Sure.
I understand that. I also understand from the perspective of Sakurai, who just wants to take a very interesting character and create some interesting technical moves with that person. From a creative standpoint, I'm sure he loves it. But from someone who just wants to see like King Boo in the game, or characters, other characters that should totally be in a game whose name is basically named after Nintendo's biggest franchise, to not see certain characters or see certain characters get looked over, while a character that I gotta imagine a very small percentage of the Smash population has really cares about get in. It just seems damn, I don't know.
I know, but here's the thing. I mean, I totally respect that. However, I can't respect it, and here's why. But it's just some of my favorite things about Smash Bros. Have been playing the first game. I didn't really have a great recollection for who Samus was or who Ness was. And then when those games became available, I was like, oh, I know them. I want to play their game. They must be important because they're featured in this roster. Same thing goes for Fire Emblem characters, which is one of my favorite game franchises. Obviously
done.
Marth and Roy.
Closing the door.
I don't want more of them, but the point being they made me interested in those games when they came to Game Boy Advance. And I feel like this will do the same thing for this series. And it also is, I think Bayonetta is an exciting, I think Bayonetta, Snake, the Street Fighter characters, the Belmonts, those characters are so fresh. When I encounter them, they feel so different. And that's what I like about having a Joker character and things like that.
True.
And I do feel I totally like King Boo. He was a great king, great reign on his part. Good to his people, but
good boss in Luigi's Mansion.
Good boss. Want that baby ghost. I want that spooky ghost child.
Right.
But
that would be a great Smash.
But it's I don't actually want that. I don't want Waluigi. I don't want these characters that are so
I'm not
obvious.
On the Waluigi train.
I know, but it's who is really not represented Nintendo wise at this point? The Squid Sisters,
Crystal,
Crystal Fox. Obviously, I do want her 4 times, 4 different outfits that are all echoes of the same one. It's just everyone is so represented. It's hard to imagine someone really needing more. I'd rather do something new.
And so I think that's what's interesting. And Danny, I want you to kind of speak to this a little bit. But we have, if this is emblematic, right now we're gonna see partners of Nintendo start to get their characters in this game, and the biggest crossover in entertainment. If that's the case, do you think this is more a hey, promotional character for X release, which we talked about a little bit in our last podcast about potential characters getting dropped as games are released in 2019? Or do you think it's, hey, this is our way of highlighting a partner now that we're working with, a big third party who's, we've loved, like, are we going to see the Rabbids in this game finally because of this particular,
Finally.
direction? I want Rabbid Peach. What do you think about that?
I think it's the latter. I mean, with the Switch being so much more friendly to a lot of different developers, I think it's something like that. I think it's Nintendo saying, yeah, we're trying something new, but also we're trying to make show off our new partners and look at this cool relationship we're in now. Like, look, everybody, like, please buy. Which I may lean a little closer to Matt overall in this conversation, just because I feel, especially with something like the DLC, I feel like this is an extra purchase, right? This should be like your home run, like, characters. This should be something big that makes people want to buy it. Forewarning, I mean, did I already buy the DLC just in case before I heard this announcement? I was like, yes,
of course.
Just in hopes that it's like something super.
I think that's why we're allowed to be disappointed, because it's already money spent.
Right, but
you can't speak to something unless you pay money on it.
For people who already have Smash but don't have the DLC yet, who haven't made that second purchase yet, my thought is that should be your home run characters, like have been on the top 10 list of characters wanted for like the past 2 or 3 Smash games or something like that aren't yet on it, because quite a few of them have, like King K. Rool, for example. And especially with this next point we're going to get to, if what these potential leaks of the remaining DLC characters pan out to be what they are.
I'm sure they're fake, but I do like talking about it. But right. Continue.
Then I'm leaning on the disappointed side, because I don't know who else I would have wanted yet. I mean, I have my dream list, but I don't know any of these other characters.
Austin, talk to us about these leaks.
Well, it's just, I mean, I think those are all good points. And I just want to say, I think there's just 2 ways of looking at all of these things, obviously. But the biggest thing, it's like, yeah, on one hand, it's like celebration of your best characters. It might be the last time to entice someone. The other hand, though, it's like, if the franchises on display haven't already enticed somebody, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm holding out for Shy Guy. I'm not buying that Shy Guy. I don't want any of their Mario characters. I just want Shy Guy. I think they probably stand a better chance to have someone be like, cool. Persona has a big presence in Japan, or like this leak, quote unquote, but the rumor for the other characters, one of which is Erdrick, Lodo in Japan, but Dragon Quest is a huge franchise. I've talked about it on the show before. I adore Dragon Quest. Here's my very fun Dragon Quest DS game in Reach with Yuji Horii. Signed it there. Wow, very cool.
Ooh, but for the people watching the video version of this podcast.
Exactly. Wow. Please like and subscribe. And for those, so you have that. You have Dragon Quest, and the other rumors were possibly from Minecraft, which seems totally plausible given the friendship with Microsoft, that you would have Steve from Minecraft be featured, as well as possibly Rayman. I really just don't think this is real, but it's still fun. Rayman and Hiachi from Tekken, that they would be characters. Tekken seems plausible to have representation because Bandai Namco made this game, and that is their fighting game. But it just feels like overall, I like the idea where it's like, get a little stranger. If people want to get the strange games, then they buy the fighter pass. Maybe I have a friend who's really into Persona. He's like a casual Smash fan, but now it's like, wow, he loves his character. Now it's in there, And I think the question you posed, Matt, is really good about how are they representing these characters? What's the motivation? And I just want everyone to consider, back for Smash on Wii U, right? What characters did we get as DLC? And like, look at how they are now, right? We had the Fire Emblem characters as DLC. They were directly tied to promoting a game, Corrin, right? We had Bayonetta there, and now that was before it was announced that third game was going to be a Switch exclusive. Bayonetta 2 was a Switch exclusive that tied in, Wii U exclusive that tied in with that. We had Street Fighter characters. One of the Switch launch games was a exclusive Street Fighter version of Street Fighter 2. Like,
Cloud, yeah.
Cloud is like a little more of a, like, he has a big game, but it's not currently announced for Switch. But we have had in recent months, like Final Fantasy VII's announced for Switch, the classic version. We have other Final Fantasy games. It's just hard to see anything else beyond, like, marketing stuff. But I think it's kind of fun because it's kind of random, and if people really don't want it, they don't have to partake. But I like it when it gets a little
That's
weird.
True. That Cloud announcement was a huge announcement.
Yeah,
across
awesome.
The internet, so It is
sure.
fun. I think that those things are fun. So
When they announced Lucas, Roy, great DLC characters. Yeah. Okay. Well, should we move on to the next story?
yeah, let's do it. I mean, that's our stories.
I think those are our big news stories of the week. But should we? I guess. Pardon me. Do you think, Matt? Do you want to take us on to the next segment of the show?
I think we can. This is time for our ANP roundtable discussion. So, we are going to talk about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, our experience so far. But we're going to ask just kind of a series of questions and go around and kind of give our answers to those questions. First and foremost, who are you mainin? We talked about this in the past, but now we have the game in our hands, literally. And I've had a chance to, for some of us, Danny's unlocked way more characters than me. Actually, that's the first question. How many characters have you unlocked? Danny, go.
68.
Okay.
Give or take 0. Okay, Matt, you?
What was my count? Like 23? I don't know.
Oh no, you poor boy.
Yeah.
I think I'm like at
pretty
40, 43-ish. Okay, let's go around with mains. Matt, hit us first. What's your main?
Oh, I pit. I pit. That's what I do.
Pit. You sure do, buddy. But it's
I
all right.
made
We all
pit.
do. Sometimes it's very hot. And okay. Main pit. And I played against Matt online on one of our first matches, and I gotta say it was a rude awakening for me. I just got juggled so hard by Matt playing as Pit. I was impressed with his play, but also just like a proud ANP daddy. Just like, look at this beautiful boy playing this beautiful Pit, and just like shrekking me up and down Corneria, Great Fox. I was very proud. So
that line is on all of our new merch, ANP Daddy. You can find it on the website and link below.
Dad of the pod.
With other characters, once I use Pit, I'm like, okay, I have a literal fighting chance.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
Austin, who's your main though?
I just feel like, Matt, I needed to give you that compliment in person or in Skype because there was no way to otherwise communicate it during the game. So I am reduced to this extremely popular podcast in order to communicate.
Well, there was. We just weren't using that option. We can, use our apps.
Can I say something? I am extremely tech forward. I don't know how to use the app. True. Like if I boot it up, it's just Splatoon, right?
No, there should be a
okay. Well, mine is sleepy and it's just Splatoon and it's updated. I'll pull it up on the video and you can give me a 20-minute tutorial for the rest of this video. Okay. I play Young Link and I want to play Toon Link, but as we talked about before, he doesn't have that backslash, the 1-2 side A charge slash. Am I wrong? It's not there, right?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. I haven't really tried it because I've only heard it, but it's like so I'm using the Young Link, and when I play as him, I'm like, okay, I still got it. And then I play as anyone else, and I'm like, oh, I'm terrible at this game. Input lag, online lag. I also really like the Belmonts. I love their weight and the whip. And when you throw the holy water down with Simon or Richter, and they get stunned like PK Fire, and you fall up with that long reach of the whip, which you can't really do with Lucas and Ness because the bat is not long enough anymore, or at least like the way in which it stuns them, you have to do multiple PK Fires to get them close enough to smash them. This one, it's like you put that down. It's an easy combo. It's so sweet. And also their tilt attack, the down A tilt attack where he does like the slide and then the jumping lunge move. So cool. The tilt attacks are way more impressive in this game, or at least they're highlighted a lot more in the story mode that I find myself experimenting with them in a way that I didn't really realize they were a thing before. Were they? They were, yeah. Never thought of them though.
Remember.
They were, but I think now it's just like they seem to be highlighted. They're highlighted in spirits modes where you can level up, and I find myself playing with it and noticing it a lot more in a way that I didn't. I was just either smash move or neutral A. That was how I used to play it. So.
Okay, we're in the land of Link. So, Danny, lay it on us.
All right, it's a shocker for everyone. Young Link has been, for the most part, what I've been hoping he's been, or should have been.
You both play him very differently, by the way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I play him extremely well.
Yeah. Ask Matt. I spam the projectiles like crazy.
He's very good with them.
The arrows, the bombs, the boomerang. I keep the distance. Try to change it up. But yeah, Breath of the Wild Link. Love how he looks. The play. Maybe I just haven't given him a chance. The remote bombs. My whole game plan is I need that thing to blow up on impact.
Same.
The lack
It's too much
of
to think about
Right.
to have to detonate it.
the lack of grappling hook. I'm like, no, I need that extra reach. Like that's
Right.
that's how I make my game work. Although I did see someone did another like frame rate timetable thing where his grab, even though he can't reach as far, he has the quickest grab of every character in the game. Breath of the
Interesting.
Wild Link. So if that's not a problem for you, not having a grappling hook, then that's actually a huge bonus for you.
That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
nice and close.
Right. In World of Light, though, which we'll get to in a second, I've been using the Mii Sword Fighter. I created the Mii Sword Fighter for the first time, and I was like, oh, I love this
Dirty
guy.
dad. That is bad. Nice. Good for you.
Right.
Now, were the Mii characters, they were banned from tournaments, right? In the last game.
They're banned from my home, I'll tell you that. No one plays, you play as that, you show you the door.
Now, why though? Why they are their own
They
unique
are,
characters.
you know why, and I'm not gonna dignify that with the response. They are as generic as humanly possible. I appreciate that they're here and that everyone is here, but they're like easily the least exciting character, certainly.
Yeah.
You know. No, don't get me wrong.
fair,
I'm a big Pilot Wings 3DS fan, but even so, I can't get that excited about them.
Fair.
So, okay, what in terms of character unlocks, how has your experience been overall? I can tell you personally, I've lost many fights, and so
It's
that,
easier now after the update.
is it okay?
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought they were going
it
to
was
be
nerfed.
Okay.
Well, so
was kinda
IGN's last
fearing
ANP NVC podcast,
Close.
they were
Some people
talking
get that
about
confused.
how the characters get harder as you go along in terms of being able to defeat them, and I'm like, they've been hard from the start for me. And I am
not as hard
I am a
anymore.
good Smash Brothers player. I understand the game well. I can learn very quickly. I am not someone playing this game for the first time or even the second or
Right.
third time. So I don't know. It's still been difficult. How about you all? I mean, clearly not. Danny found a convenient little workaround to kind of start unlocking them very fast. What's that been like? For
All
you,
right,
Danny?
so everyone pull up your Switches now before they patch it in 1.3. But so if you log into World of Light, and I don't know if you knew this already, Austin, play for 10 to 12 minutes in World of Light, literally doing anything. You could lose every fight you do in that 10 to 12 minutes. Log out of World of Light, you'll have a new approach greet you. Log back in, play another 10 or 12 minutes, log out. You could do this all in the same like hour sitting span and get like 3 or 4 characters just like that.
Yeah, and that's basically what I've been doing too. But I want to talk about this as like a big topic because a lot of my friends picked up Switches. They got it Black Friday. They're excited for this game. All my high school friends, we used to play Melee, Brawl, all the time. And it's really exciting. They're all playing. We're playing online. It's a terrible experience, but it's fun to be with the friends virtually. Can't talk to them. Can't even fight with them really, but it's still fun. But but for the unlocks. So I know Nintendo Voice Chat was talking about it. I've seen like Polygon had the article with like the fastest way to do the unlocks. And I think people have discovered now that it's really based partly on the number of button inputs and also time. It's like those two things combined because they don't want you just idling and then playing. So people have gotten it down to like 3 to 5 minutes, like really fast doing like activities, either fighting, either doing a story mode or what have you, or just playing a really short match and putting out a lot of button inputs and killing yourself really quickly. And there's a couple different counters, essentially. Not sure all the details, but you can do that to run through it very fast. I like the World of Light thing, though, Dan, like you're saying, because also World of Light, you unlock characters. So you're kind of getting characters through World of Light and then getting new ones when you back out, and hopefully not too many repeats when you return to World of Light. But here's the big thing. With all my friends who have the game, everyone at first was like, this is the fastest way to do it. Like, here's the new way to do it. They'll send out new links. And everybody's like, oh, I unlocked 34 characters today. Or like, I'm still working on like these 2 characters. And I've enjoyed the experience of the slow unlocks. I've enjoyed using the limited roster.
Same.
I've enjoyed checking out characters I might not have played previously, like Mii Fighter was just spoken about, regrettably. And I do feel like it encourages that. But a lot of my friends have found it to be frustrating. And I would say out of probably the dozen people who are close friends who've just gotten it, I would say 9 out of 12, so 3/4 of them have been doing the grinding to get the character unlocks right away. And just like killing themselves, doing quick matches, things like that. So it makes me wonder, was this the right call for Smash Bros to do it this way? They have not liked it. There were probably more of them that have not enjoyed it. And I'm kind of like, oh, I'm fine. I'm enjoying the experience. I don't mind playing online like with you guys with, Jigglypuff or whomever I have unlocked, even if it's not someone I typically play.
I guess my question is, what other way would you prefer for that many characters in a way that still feels like Smash Brothers?
Like in the Wii U game, most characters were unlocked. Like the Echo-ish characters were most of the ones like the Dark Pits and things like that, with like the unlocked ones, but you weren't really missing anything because they were basically the Echoes. And most modern fighting games pretty much all have every character unlocked from the start. And it's like a standard, like for Dragon Ball Fighters on the Switch, pretty much everyone's there. It's just like one or two and some costumes that aren't, which is kind of a fun way of doing it. But it's like if you really want to play, one of the characters that looks like Goku.
From the Wii U. I guess I forgot about that part.
You definitely unlock characters, but you didn't unlock 70 or whatever. So that's the difference.
They do come fast though. I mean, like, and I get that it's not as fast, but just to quickly chat about it, and then Danny, I want you to chime in. I've enjoyed. We went to a friend's place, and he surprised us. He got a Switch. Very similarly, was totally against getting a Switch for a long time.
He's like, surprise! I got myself a Switch.
That's exactly what happened. He bought it like
the day we got
minutes.
there. He got it like 2 hours earlier.
Yeah,
nice.
And so we get there. He's got it set up. But we all started playing on my Switch, and we're just by playing together, I was unlocking characters, which then you had the Switch owner's guilt of like, oh gosh, this is just my console. We should probably switch them out and play on each other's. And that's been really fun. I've enjoyed the slow grind. I don't need every character now. It gives me time to learn that particular character instead of, I can imagine getting 72 characters unlocked, or even half of that. That's a lot of choices all at once. And I think takes away some of the fun of just experiencing the game and unlocking little things, getting little achievements. I don't know, Danny, how about you?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a counter for like how to. So I should have prefaced this before my last statement. I think this game may have spoiled me just as far as, and I think Sakurai said it in a conversation recently, like we may have screwed ourselves for future Smash iterations because the expectation is the next game should have the bare minimum of this amount of players,
right?
More, but definitely not less. So I certainly think I get caught up in that too, thinking like I'm spoiled now, like, oh, I want more, I want the next game to have 100 characters,
Sure.
And at that point, I don't know how to change it differently. Maybe you start out at that point with 50 already, and then there's the remaining 50 you have to unlock. If it was out of 100, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough to balance.
I think the big question is, do you do characters to unlock versus everyone unlocked? So if you had to choose one or the other.
Fight all the unlocked characters at once, and you either get them or you don't.
It's like a wireframe battle.
48-player game, and
I think there's something to be said about the difference in gameplay, and I think Sakurai will have to decide this, or whoever is going to oversee this in the future, is how do we want to do this? One, what's the console look like? Two, how's the distribution like? Is it all on the cloud now, and like you're just downloading packs of fighters
straight into your eyes? Yeah, good question.
It could be in like story mode where like, oh, like all of the like villains from these 3 series are all trapped, and then you like unlock them all at once by doing some sort of thing. I think that could be fun. But we don't know. We don't know.
Well, as it stands now, do you like unlocking the characters, or would you prefer to have them all? Matt.
Fine or Furious? I'm fine.
Okay, you're fine with it. Thank you for bringing that game back. It's a very popular ANP classic game, Fine or Furious.
We play it every year.
I'm fine.
I'm fine with it too. I would say this. I just kind of, we're fine. ANP presents. We're all.
Can we
fine.
all press A like in Mario Party and all high five?
Hey.
Hey.
That's our cover image. That's our thumbnail. Is all of us high fiving there. I would say this. If I had to design it for the next game, what I would do is I would have everyone unlocked from the start, and then you would unlock, with the exception being the Echo Fighters. So the Echo Fighters would be locked away, but opposed to just how it works in this game where it's just like random, you played 10 minutes. Instead, it's like how it was back in Melee and the original game.
Right.
Every game before this, where you had to do a specific criteria.
Would they clearly define Echo Fighters, first of all? Like, would some people reclassified?
Because I'm thinking a little bit of like tournaments, right? Or the encounter where it's like you go over to your buddy's house and they're like, I want to play, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to main young Link, like 66% of this podcast. And then you get there and it's like, oh, I don't have young Link, but can I interest you in adult Daddy Link? Like, because that's all we got here in my home.
Daddy
and,
Link,
you know,
check it out in the merch
and I think that's an issue. But if Daddy
Like
Link
Wild
and
Link.
P presents, but like the Wild Link. but if you had everyone unlocked except for the Echoes, then at least you weren't limiting anyone. Yeah, it is true. Some of the Echoes like don't make any sense. And some of the people who aren't Echoes, like Dr. Mario, I think they do a little bit of a better job defining Echoes next time. You know, or even characters are like, kind of Echo. Just make them an Echo. Make them the
Right.
unlocks. Make the criteria specific. Unlock 1,000 spirits and be like, wow, you got Dark Samus? Because right now it doesn't mean anything. Like, it is kind of cool for this week or two to see people be like, wow, you have everyone? Like, I only have 30. But it would be neat to be like, wow, that's so cool. You got like this costume or something even.
Right.
For Simon, where he looks like he looked in Super Castlevania 4, like the very anime super hot Simon, not like the not as hot, just buff, but not like lean, beautiful man that was in Super Castlevania 4. Like, but that would be a cool outfit.
Someone get that man
you know?
a drool bib.
Well, I do. I mean,
That's where I
he's
think
working
it should go. I think it should be even
for
the
not
skins.
necessary things and specific again.
I would prefer some of the skins to be a little more unique. It's like always that last skin that's like, oh, cool, it's Mario. It's the builder.
Yeah.
But
Mario the Builder, they called him.
that's
Can he build it?
Yes, he can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think we're at a place where it's cool to see that someone's achievement in the form of a visual. Like even like back on Mario Kart Wii, when someone had the golden wheel or the stars next to their name, like you knew that they had done something. Like even just to play in a Smash, like a play online, which we will get to right after this. To see someone playing with a particular skin that you haven't unlocked yet because you just haven't used that character enough to do it, that would be cool. I don't need all 7 skins all at once. Like Party Hat Pikachu would be cool, or Luchadora Pikachu. If like you had to work hard for Luchadora Pikachu.
Like what about exactly? That's a great example. Like what if he's a unique character in Pokken, like the Luchador Pikachu.
Right.
Let's do that in this too. Like you need some different costumes for the team play, right? You need a red, blue, and a green variant. But then it's like beyond that, make it unlocks or make Echoes unlocks. So that way, if you go to a tournament, you're not limited. Or if you go to a friend's house, I'm gonna be able to play my character. I don't need to bring my Switch. Like put Detective Pikachu in his little fedora. Like put Detective Cap. Like put that in as a costume. And we've always wanted that though. Like for the other costumes, right? Because there's always been like, oh, it's Samus and she's in her Metroid Fusion colors, but it's like not the fusion suit. And I'm sure you run into problems because, like, okay, fusion suit's a leaner suit. Hitbox is probably smaller. You don't have the big, like, palindromes, like the shoulder aspects anymore with that. But really, like, make one of those costumes the fusion suit. Like, that would be so cool. Like, and that's something I love about the spirits. And we don't need to talk about this episode. We can talk about maybe World of Light specifically when we've all played more of it in another episode because I know this one's getting kind of long. But, like, I love the spirits. I love seeing like all these little represented things, like, or like you can choose your player icon. Mine's like the Metroid Fusion Samus. This is my favorite Metroid game, and it's so cool to see it in there, Or it's like, like Star Fox, put a pair of sunglasses on him, and all of a sudden he's James McCloud.
James.
Put him in a bikini, all of a sudden he's Crystal. Like, and you could do that as special unlocked costumes that would give you. And if they were specific, like beat classic mode level 9 with Fox. Bikini
Give him a
Fox.
ball. He's tricky.
Give him a ball. He's tricky now.
Yeah.
Give King K. Rool a ball. He's tricky now. That'd be a great spirit. I'm sure. Maybe it's in there.
Nice crossover.
Soccer ball and King K. Rool. That'd be a great
Tricky's
spirit.
definitely got to be in there.
Yeah, he's got it. If he's not, I'm returning it digitally.
Let's talk about our final topic for the roundtable. And Danny, I want you to start off with this. So, online and local play, but more specifically, online play. All of us have played against one another online in the past week. Or many of our friends. And I want to just talk about the overall experience. Right now, across the interwebs, the experience is bad. We said in our last podcast that Austin mentioned that a reckoning would occur, and we're, I think, in the I don't know, the buildup of maybe what that might be. I haven't really seen all the backlash, like really that hardcore feedback, but I will say this. From my perspective, I have yet to have a terrible match online. I play mostly when I'm online on my TV. My dock is using a LAN adapter from the Wii U era. And I am currently using internet at a university that is completely open right now, as all university students are pretty much gone at this point.
Right.
So,
and you're in the United States, and so you have access to it. Like,
So, right. Let's bring some perspective into this podcast.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, I'm in Oregon, which is barely hanging on to the U.S. of A. we're latched on to the West
Oregon
Coast.
and Washington.
Hold on tight.
We go to any minute, right? Canada might just annex us.
God.
Yep. They probably have better
Danny,
internet,
what's your experience, man, online with this game? Are you positive about it, negative about it, indifferent? What are you, fine or furious?
I love it.
I'm somewhere between indifferent and negative. I'm not as upset and in our last podcast I was like, I'm imagining this is going to be absolute trash. It's not absolute trash. It's like just 1 or 2 day old trash
casual.
Like, okay, the scent's starting to come out. Maybe I should take it out soon. I could probably go a few more days.
No,
I played a couple rounds with Matt online. And we played maybe 3 or 4 matches. And maybe just a few lives total between those 3 or 4 matches did I feel that the glitches got to the point where they could have tipped the life in another way. I think overall, whoever won those matches anyways.
Correct.
But there was just a couple times. I remember we were talking, I was not using the Nintendo app. We were just speaking via our smartphones over speaker as we played.
They can do that? They can do that now?
Right. Where Matt and I would both comment at the same time, like, we froze, and it's not the effect of one of the items. Like, we're frozen for a second. Oh, no, we're back on. And, the biggest thing was just to kind of ruin the flow. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's got one of those smart devices. I see that. Yeah, there it is. Oh,
is there
Nintendo
supposed to be something else? Am I confused?
Once you create a, what do you call those rooms? It's like a ring or something. The game has a special name for when you play with your friends. It's like a battle arena.
And it's not Splatoon 2?
When you create an arena for your friends, that's where you have an option. You can have it like, you can open up the Switch app. There's a button in there that'll send it to whatever account you're linked at. It'll open up on that particular phone. In this case, your phone should be that there. But we'll have to let's regroup, talk about that in episode 22.
Right.
But yeah, Danny, I agree. There were moments where I was like, okay, I probably got away with a win there, or like I barely survived that particular joust. Yeah, because of That being said, though, we didn't play with any items on, and if we did, it was a mistake, and then we went back and switched it up. Now the chaos.
Close the arena. You had to close the arena to get out and do that, and text him and tell him to rejoin you.
Yes. All right, Austin, go down the list.
Okay.
Please.
Well, it's just this. It's like, so my experience, I would say overall online, I've had a fun time, but the services are definitely negative. Like at best, the online works most of the time, but the overall, okay, if I want to change the settings on the fly, there is no way to. Like if I've selected what my favorite course is, it's just going to be that every single time if I'm the host. Like I got to put it on random or go turn off courses or tell someone else to text them basically and tell them to do this or that. If I want to change characters, it drops you from the queue of who's fighting in that arena, which is an issue if you have somebody lined up to play the next match, because even if you won that match and you want to change your character, now you're out of the
someone can jump right in and
right.
You're
so it's
spectating.
and like I said, a bunch of my friends got it, so we've had these matches, and I know when you say the character limit is 7 people, it's like, are you sure you don't want to do 2 people?
Yeah,
it says it could be worse. So maybe that's part of the reason why I've had these rocky experiences. But even 3-person, it's just we'll just get hit with what feel like a minute at a time of just slow-mo fighting or just complete standstill, and it cheapens sometimes the victory, or burns on the defeat, where it's that wasn't totally in my control. It's like back in Melee, right? And you're playing a match and someone just keeps hitting pause, and you're because they want to look at something, or they're trying to troll, or someone's dead and they keep hitting pause. And it's and everything, you're just I mistimed my jump, or forgot the orientation of a character, and that can be an issue. And none of this is competitive, but it is, I want to crush these nerds, and it gets a little frustrating. And it also just feature wise, it's so poor. And I was heartened to see the Kotaku article, people on Twitter talking about it's such a mess. If you want to choose your settings, you still aren't necessarily going to get that in the online match, in the quick play. And it's there should just be an option where those are the settings that you get, and you just sit and wait until you find someone else. If not, you can go do quick play where it's random. But it's like, if you want to do 1v1, you should be able to do 1v1. And no, maybe it'll take longer because you want something somewhat specific. But like the general, like everyone's talking about like, oh, choose 1v1 and I get like 4 people, items on, like not what they want. And unless you have a friend group that is like down to text and coordinate, then you'd be totally limited online. You'd always be at the mercy of that.
Right.
So it's just, and I think also because it's $20 now, like there are friends I want to play with who just got a Switch but don't want to get the online service, and I can't like in good faith be like it's worth it.
Recommend it. You're right.
That's our same friend we were talking about. Yeah. Same
And
thing.
we can only play with that friend unless, I mean, if they do it, and then it's like, well, because they don't live here, and so it's like, and my little brother wants to play too, and he doesn't own the online service yet, but he wants to. But I'm like, I don't know. It's like just bringing me back to our childhood days of just like going at it on the screen. You know, we're not going to have that same experience online when we should. And what will be 2019, it should be as seamless as playing with someone in the same room.
In 2008, the year we are in right now, online should be able to work to play a game together seamlessly. And I'm sure in 10 years they'll have it fixed. But as we play Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the 3 of us right now on the Wii, we should be able to have a seamless online experience. At least they're not charging for it. Yeah, it's just. I mean, yes, sad. I understand. And it's not the worst, but I would like them to do something about it.
Yeah,
because it's not good.
Come on, Nintendo. We know you listen to us. Mm-hmm. Do something.
Come on, Regime. You know we're big fans.
One of the 4 subscribers.
Oh yeah,
chime in.
Wouldn't that be
sounds
something?
off in the comments every time. Then
oh my god,
gets
King
nervous
DDD.
about it.
Wait, King D the Dandy? Are you Sakurai in disguise?
Come on.
You do love Kirby.
That's true. Oh my gosh, the clues were there the entire time.
Everything's connected.
Right.
All right, well, boys, it's been real. It's been fun. Anything else to add about Smash? Or is this ultimately the end of this podcast?
I think we come back another time. We talk about World of Light, and we talk about our 2018. But for now, I say I'm having a great time with it, and I had a great time with the both of you.
Yeah, it's been a fine time, I would say. Danny, been a fine time as
well. Fantastic.
Not a furious time at all.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. This has been another Nintendo podcast. We'll see you in the next one.